Here we are, and a revisit to the wonderful man, Geoff Stilwell. The car, 7707, land speed record holder, back again after your escapades, if you like, in El Mirage.
El Mirage, yeah.
Give us an update in the trip out there, because it was very, very hot out there, but at times...
Well, actually, no, sorry, it wasn't actually that hot. In fact, blinking cold.
Ah, no, in the mornings it looked like the temperature was high.
Yeah, very unusually. We were freezing our off.
Really?
Yeah, it was unusually cold. The year before, it was in the late 30s, early 40s. And then this year, we've really struggled with warmth. And we'd all gone out there with shorts and stuff like that, and then Nick was using my fleeces to try and keep warm.
Wow.
It was really, I don't think it got above 60 degrees.
Oh yeah, because I know, maybe I got a bit confused with it. Yeah, because I think it was about 50 odd, probably.
Yeah, no, it was really quite chilly.
That's about 50, quite chilly.
Making lots of horsepower.
Yeah.
But poor old Nick was really feeling the cold.
Feeling the cold, yeah.
Yeah.
So, good trip for you in some respects, but obviously, I think the weather didn't help much as well.
Well, it was a very unusual. Meeting, in so much as, and people can Google this. There was that weekend a dust storm that hit Vegas up through to Chicago. Yeah. And it also stopped one of the big drag races. And we were on the tail edge of that. And what happened was that whilst it was dry, it was fantastic. Day we got there, beautiful, but the forecast was winds would be coming up. And on the first day, we got our first run in, and then unfortunately there was an incident, to coin a phrase, and somebody unfortunately went out what we call the back door, which they went off the end of the track, and that delayed stuff. And then by the time he'd been extracted from the car, and he had a broken shoulder, by the time he'd been extracted, the winds, and I have to explain here that El Mirage sits in the bottom of a bowl.
Yeah.
There are mountains all the way around you, but there's like a valley that the winds whistle through.
Right, yeah.
And because of the way it all works with the heat and the sun and everything else, it generates winds that come up around about lunchtime. Sometimes not, sometimes they do.
And it's still on the salt plains?
No, it's mud.
It's mud, yeah.
Yeah, it's mud. But the surface this year was, I mean, I've not been going there very long. However, I would say this, it was probably the best I've ever driven on. It was absolutely smooth as silk.
Wow. How do they actually prepare? They don't, nothing at all.
It's all down to Mother Nature. And what happened was that after November meeting last year, there was actually quite a bit of rain, and there was enough to put probably 3 or 4 inches of water on the lake bed. And what happens is it's very alkali, and what happens is it settles down, and then through process of evaporation, it forms a skin on the top of the clay, and then that dries. And year before last, we were seeing patches like that, like dried up crusty bits.
Yeah.
Well, this year there was none of that. It was just smooth, absolutely stunning.
More of a comfortable drive then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the car was just a dream's drive, and it really was good. However, because of the situation, El Mirage is known for the winds, but normally they come in later in the day, and then they're there for a couple of hours and then disappear. Just all to do with the weather thing. You know, I mean, I was there a year or so ago, and we had a twister come through, tornado,
Wow.
and it came up the valley. We saw it, and then it literally just turned right and went up the side of the track, and at the end it dropped 4 inches of rain.
Wow.
Where we were bone dry, but we couldn't race because the shutdown area was underwater.
Underwater, yeah.
So
So your speed, you were obviously your ultimate aim is to get to 300, but I think it's 200s, 250s.
yeah, the target this year was to do 250 at Bonneville. Now, you know, it may sound that's quite easy, but this is on a dried out lake bed. We use a different type of tyre for running at El Mirage than we do at Bonneville. And this year, this time was really the best time we could do it. And I'm hoping in November, we've now the setup in the car, the way I drive it, it was really hauling.
Yeah.
And on the first pass I went 240, which is the fastest. I've had 2 personal bests there this year, which was absolutely amazing. And when you consider I was actually the fastest car there until till Danny Thompson went down,
Yeah.
and he went 268, I think it was, maybe 270, I don't know, I can't remember. And then Brian Hawkins went down in the streamline and went 287.
Yeah.
You know, and that car's run 300 mile an hour in the mile on dirt.
Right.
And that is an incredible feat.
Just explain a little bit about the tyres. So you're saying that is it the compound of them?
No, we actually use at El Mirage, we actually use a treaded tyre.
Right.
And it's a very old style tyre. It's called a Dunlop RS1, strangely.
Right.
And we get them in from a place in San Francisco, and we take them to a place called Nate's in LA, who does all the Bonneville tyres, and he takes them in and he can balance them to 500 mile an hour.
Wow.
And they shave them, they make them, you know, really good. But the RS1 is really only good for 250, 260, 265. You wouldn't want to run 280 on it.
No.
Because it would, you know, it will just
tear it up.
yeah. And after the 240, it was actually starting to chunk.
Right.
So the leading edge of the tread was already coming off. So luckily we've got a few sets of them. So new ones on for the second run. You know.
It must be quite adrenaline, excitement, and everything else. You're taking your crew out there, you know, and then you're there, and then you're ready to go.
It's actually a more refined version of Top Gear.
Right. Is it?
Oh yeah. We laugh, we have so much fun, and we all have the same goal. And I'm very lucky that, you know, Nick Davies, Rob Loring, Scotty Barnes from here that run obviously Havoc and the new car, the new Fiat Topolino, which will be out soon, and the Pro Mod. I'm very lucky to have them as crew, but I'm also really lucky that we've got Scott Campbell, who's based in just up the road from the shop, who used to work with Rich Guasco on Pure Hell, and he's with us. And then there's Paulie Rivera, and who's their fabricator, who knows the car inside out. So I'm really lucky that in terms of having work done on the car, you know, Paulie and Scott can do almost everything.
A little bit about the motor on the car. Tell us a little bit about it. I know we covered it before, but just for people.
Well, the engine, the motor itself is a Brad Anderson 496 top fuel block. It's billet heads. We run a 1471 supercharger. We run the latest, I say the latest top fuel style heads. So it's 16 plug heads, twin 44 amp mags. We run 70% nitro. We run the same top fuel. We run the same fuel pump as a top fuel car. The only slightly difference is we don't run the boost that they do, and we certainly don't rev it as hard as they do. We only rev.
No, and obviously they're lasting longer.
Yeah, we only rev to 6,000 because the trick with land speed is obviously trying to make it last. So, and because we've got no coolant, we dump a load of nitro in the engine, and for 1 mile, we used, I think it was 19 gallons.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of fuel.
A lot of fuel.
Yeah.
Hell of a lot of fuel. Yeah.
And but we run a lock-up clutch. It's called a Leggett clutch, and it was developed by a guy called Les Leggett, and sadly no longer with us. But the style of clutch is specific for land speed. And then we run a B&J 2-speed out to a ginormous rear end called a Winter's quick change, which is very big, but you've got the quick change section on the back, so we can just disconnect that, and then we can change the gears inside. We have about 20 different combinations.
Oh.
So we can actually change the rear end ratio in the space of about 25 minutes.
Wow, that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, people just don't realise the sophistication and everything else to achieve where you are with this.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, that 7707 is actually a pretty trick car. There's lots of gadgets and gizmos, and when you chat to Nick, I'm sure he'll tell you that, for example, the front end was the suspension and everything was all designed by Paulie Rivera. And he built it, and it's independent, but we use pro stock shock absorbers, we use this, that. The rear end is all live, which he designed. It's very clever.
I mean, even tuning something like that is hard work.
I mean, it's a nitro motor. I mean, it's down to Nick and Rob.
Yeah.
And they fiddle with it, and they just tell me what to do. I just point and stick my foot on the gas.
Yeah. That's it. Point and go.
Yeah, that's right. And press the button.
When you look at the footage and everything else, from behind, it's huge dust.
Yeah.
Are you getting much of that coming back at you?
Well, you can get what's called a dust out, which is actually quite common on some of the saloon cars, the coupes and stuff like that. My car, the trick is El Mirage, is we carry rolls and rolls of red tape, which you can't see on the car, but we tape up every joint while I'm sitting in the staging lanes waiting to go, and because the car will suck the dust up through the inside, and that's the problem. If you're driving a car and you've got a hole round your steering column or round the pedals, you're going to get dusted out. There's no two ways about it, and that does happen. But for me, I've never had a dust out.
Right.
And I get very little dust in the cockpit.
Is that because you're lower down, or?
No, I don't think so. It's just the way the car is designed, because we don't even the holes in the body where the axle goes through and stuff like that can't get into the driver's cockpit.
Right, yeah.
Because the driver's cockpit is actually it's like a sealed unit almost. So it's difficult to explain, but when you're sitting in the car, everything at the front, the fire bottles and everything like that, there's a firewall between me and the front of the car, and then there's a firewall behind me because I've got the fuel tank right by my shoulder. There's 45 gallons of fuel in there. 70% nitro. So I'm sealed, but it's like a safety cell. So Kiwi Steve, who was very involved, and he's the chief technical guy at the SCTA. He was involved with the construction of the chassis, especially the safety cell that I sit in, so that, you know, if something did happen, you try and make it as safe as possible, so that it's triangulated so you don't get crushed.
People don't realise the sort of equipment for you personally in the car.
Yep.
The breathing, the oxygen, and everything else that you're having into it.
I mean, for me, I have what's called a chiller suit, and it's like a t-shirt, like I'm wearing now, but it has lines inside it, and down while I'm waiting to go, I have two pipes that sit out my fire suit, and it's connected to a little chiller pack, runs off 12-volt battery in total, and that pumps cold water around my body. So that does, and then I've got my fire suit obviously, but when I've got my helmet on, I then have a fresh air supply system, which runs at the front of the car, and that's that tank. That's my thing I do. I always make sure my tank is full, and that gives me like 20 minutes of fresh air.
Brilliant.
And that pumps directly into my helmet, keep my head cool.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are involved. Now, coming up in July, you're off.
Yep. The crew and I are on our way for end of July, the 28th, and to LA, and then the 29th is spent on the car, just going through everything, and we'll do a test fire while we're there just to make sure everything's working. Then we load up on the Wednesday, and then Thursday morning we leave at around 4 a.m. So we're up at 3 at the shop for, to leave at 4. That is then an 800-mile drive to Bonneville, and we'll do that in the day.
With a convoy.
Yeah. There'll be me and the rig. There'll be support lorry with our shop inside it. Then there'll be Nick in one of the cars, and then there'll be the RV. It's a big old convoy. 800
in a day now. That's ongoing.
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah.
We normally get to Bonneville, because what we do is that we leave Pomona and we drive out on the 10 freeway, and then we pick up the 15, which is the road to Vegas. So we go to Vegas, and then just past Vegas, I think it's the 93, but we take a slip road off, and then that takes us all the way up through the Humboldt National Forest. And you climb and climb and climb, and that road then actually brings you out in the middle of Wendover.
Right.
And so you turn right for the track, you turn left for the hotels. But we normally get there circa 4 in the afternoon.
Great.
Yeah, and it is a fantastic drive.
Yeah.
I mean, to anybody that's not been there, and you can do this if you're flying into Vegas, not if you're doing Salt Lake, but if you're flying into Vegas and you want to go there, you go up through the Humboldt, but as you're going through it, you climb, and then what a lot of people don't realise is that Enola Gay and all the atomic stuff was actually done in Wendover.
Oh.
And there is a big museum to the atomic, to the atomic bomb, and Enola Gay. It's absolutely wonderful. There used to be over 100,000 servicemen there.
Yeah.
It was a huge base. All the Oppenheimer stuff was done there. So, but as you go into Wendover, you turn right, and the track is 10 minutes away.
Right.
You turn right, take the slip road, land, and you're on the Salt. It's that easy. But as I was saying, going back to Vegas, is that when you drive out and you're driving there, as you keep climbing, there's this very, very long left-hand bend, and as you get to the apex of it, you look out to your right, and all you can see is the salt flats.
Wow.
It is absolutely one of the most incredible pictures, visions that you'll ever see, and it just goes on.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is, and people. I know a certain person who, first time to Bonneville, only cried his eyes out because it's a very emotional place to go to. When you're seeing that, people have been racing there since the 40s, or even before that actually, but to be on that hallowed ground,
yeah,
and to be able to race there, it's very, very special, and it's one of the few places in the world that you can actually see the curvature of the earth.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
when we're on the start line and I'm looking down, you're talking about long distance here, because last year the track was, I think it was 8 to 10 miles long plus stopping. So I think it was over 12 miles long, and Speed Demon actually ran off the end of the track.
Wow.
But as you're sitting there, because of the curve, there's a big mountain, and it's called Floating Mountain for that very reason, because you can't see the bottom of it.
Incredible.
So you've got that, but then so there's that, but you've then got that.
Coming on up, yeah.
So it's absolutely incredible, and Simon Groves came out one year with his good lady, and
from Eurotraction, right?
From Eurotraction, yeah. And not a lot of people realise this, but she is a specialist archaeologist, and when she looked at, you can actually see the levels at where the sea was all those millions of years ago, and it's like that, and it's just the levels as they've come down to where they are now.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, I know you said a long time ago, we need to come out there and experience it, or it is a bucket list, as we said. So when you're changing from El Mirage and then going off to Bonneville, completely different. The looking after the vehicle is completely different.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all going to get salted up and everything.
El Mirage is muddy,
yeah,
and dusty. So when that comes back to the shop, it's the compressed air is out, and psst, you blow everything off. With Bonneville, it's everything is off, dismantled as far as we can get it, and washed.
Yeah.
You wash it, and you wash it again.
Because it's creating it's just basically it's disintegrated, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what happens is the salt attacks everything.
Yeah.
And if you do not maintain your vehicle properly, it will eat through your brakes over the winter.
Wow.
That quick. I mean, we thought we'd washed it all through, and this was a few years ago now, and literally it had eaten through the pads. There's just nothing left, and you don't realise it eats into the aluminium bodywork. So underneath, I mean, most of our stuff, it looks like aluminium, but it's stainless steel, and we coat it with stuff to salt repellent.
Well, you have to, don't
you? Everything we can has salt repellent on it.
Trucks and everything, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely everything. Push truck, trailer, absolutely everything.
That is something else as well. When you're watching it, the push trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be quite exciting.
Well, I've never been in a push truck.
No, that's just.
I'm always up front.
Yeah.
I get the fun part.
Yeah.
But when you're in the push truck and they're pushing off, I mean, obviously you see it, but it's, believe it or not, the push cars have a speed limit.
Wow.
Even though they're pushing me, but once I'm gone, they have to slow down, and it's a 45 mile an hour speed limit up, and they have to pull off. They're not allowed on the thing. They have to pull off, go up the side to pick me up and then bring me back. 45, and in the pits it's 5 miles an hour. Very strictly
Very
enforced.
strict, yeah. All very exciting.
Yep.
It's exciting times. I don't know if I asked you this last time, but what gave you the inclination to want to do this?
Ever since I was a kid, and my brother used to put me in his car. He's 5, 6 years older than me, and we used to go down, and I'm sure you've done it too, you used to drive down to W.H. Smith's in your local town, and it used to be Hot Rod magazine or Popular Hot Rodding or this, and you'd see all this stuff in the magazines, and it was something I'd always wanted to do, but you just don't think that it's ever going to happen. And then of course we became friends with Ron, and I didn't realise, Ron Hope that is, bless him, that Ron had a land speed car. And it was when we were giving him an award at the Hall of Fame, and he turned to everybody and said, oh, by the way, Geoff is driving one of my land speed cars next year. I went, huh?
Oh, wow.
I don't know anything about this. And you know, various emails backwards and forwards, and it was, I just want you to turn up. We're going to get you your land speed license. And he said, that's when you know you've got salt fever.
Right.
Because once you've got salt, anyone will tell you this, once you've got salt fever, there is no cure.
Right, okay.
There is no cure.
It's gotta
Because
go away.
you have to keep going. Carl Olsen, who I saw a couple of weeks ago, Carl is a member of, you know, obviously top fuel racer, etc., etc. He's also a member of the 200 mile an hour club, land speed racing, you know, and I'm now, as he will tell you, I'm now actually faster than him.
Amazing, good, yeah.
With his land speed stuff. But Carl had a need for speed up until 2018. And then Mike sadly fell ill, and that was when it was, you know what, we need to pass the baton.
Yeah.
And that's when I took over their car.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so it may go on and on.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, it's a very strange, land speed racing it's very much like drag racing, but everybody will help everybody else. We don't race for money. All we race for is either a brass plaque or a trophy.
Yeah.
That's it. You do it for the fun, and you do it to put your name in the record books. And I'm very lucky to have my name.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
had it in there twice.
Yeah.
And when we look at what we did at El Mirage this year, a couple of weeks ago, it was the fastest I'd ever been anywhere in the mile. Ever. Seriously.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does. So it gives you the confidence to go, you know what, I think 300 is there. Because last year I ran 270, 282, the record at 277 average. But this time, El Mirage, I was something like 30 miles an hour faster in the first mile.
Gosh. Yeah.
The car was rocking.
You can't even envisage, because it's all set at different levels as well, isn't it? Up to the mile and so on.
Yeah, Bonneville, obviously El Mirage is a shorter distance, it's mile and a little bit, whereas Bonneville, we only run to the 4th mile, although other cars do run to 5, 6, 7, 8 if the track's there. Yeah. You know, so it's good fun.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Another comradeship as well out there and everything.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of old drag racers out there, you know, and you can have Iski might turn up, you know, Doug Herbert, who's a good friend, he's there, and he's debuting his new Streamliner this year. And a lot of guys have migrated across, you know, there's a guy called Fred Blanchard who has all the Arias stuff, Jason Arias, Justin Arias is there, Nick Arias is there. You know, there's so many people that were involved, and they all do this.
Yeah.
They all do it, and it's a skill. You know, I mean, there's a guy from San Diego, Gary Braun, I think his name is. He has built and designed his own V12 engine. Runs on gas. First time out, he went 219 miles an hour in the mile.
Wow.
And it's revving at 20,000 RPM. It sounds absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see. He set the record. And I can't wait to see what he can do at Bonneville. I mean, that thing is going to fly. You know, and then there's my club president, Charlie Davis, who has built this most amazing, beautiful streamliner. And believe it or not, he has a D-stroked 750 Suzuki engine in it to 600 and something cc. This thing's going to run 300 mile an hour.
That's mad.
I mean, it is.
That is mad.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, Justin Arias made all the pistons for it, custom pistons, and they've done this, he's done that. Oh, he's converted it to dry sump. I mean, this thing, it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not driven it, I've sat in it, and it just feels amazing. You know, and he's already been 180 in it, easy, and that was in third gear.
Incredible.
And it's a little 600cc, something like that.
It's crazy.
And on gas, you know, no nitro.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a different ball game, isn't it?
It is.
I've got to thank you on behalf of the Brown brothers.
Hi guys.
We just sat down to do a podcast with them, and the phone rings. Oh look, it's Geoff. Just a bit amazing.
I was touching base with
the
them.
Rebel team. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Well, because you know they are the junior Floyd Lippincotts. They have been christened by Mama Lippincott as Floyd number 3 and Floyd number 4.
Aha. And of course Haley as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Bob and Sharon adore them.
Yeah.
You know, because Bob cackled their car for them at Dragstalgia last year. And, you know, then there's been this romance ever since.
Yeah. What do we call them?
The Boulder Brothers.
The Boulder Brothers, yeah. Wacky races. Yeah, amazing. And, so good. But that was prompt timing. So I'm talking to these guys and the sponsors. It's just on the.
All we try and do is just help where we can.
Yeah.
And I love the car, what they do, and it's, you know, it's a credit to them really.
Yeah.
They're really starting to get a handle on it.
And there's their own budget as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible, yeah, incredible stuff. Yeah.
I'm so proud and so pleased for them. And, you know, especially when the ends they went to get the car fixed so Bob could cackle the car, which he thoroughly enjoyed. And when I saw him a few weeks ago, it was how the boys,
Yeah,
you know.
they are super.
They love it.
Yeah,
they love it.
They
Takes
do
him back to his, you know, to his days when he, you know, was driving the front engine cars.
Yeah, and so now, obviously, you will be going out in July, and then obviously ready for August, and then back out there in November for your racing. But in the meantime, we will be touching base at Dragstalgia.
We will indeed. I mean, just at the moment, actually the car 7707 is undergoing some servicing, ready for Bonneville. So we've taken the back axle out and the transmission out because we wanted to make sure, after everything that we did, because it was a complete rebuild, we wanted to go in and just make sure everything was right after El Mirage. So nothing too major there. That'll all be back together, and then fingers crossed, if I do go 300, I will become, I can't remember everyone that's on it, but I know that Andy Green is my target.
Right.
Because Andy Green is in the 300 club.
He's the obviously the ex-Red Arrows pilot.
Yeah, but he's actually driven the JCB diesel streamliner, and he went, I think, 305, 310, something like that.
Yeah.
So if I can get my butt in gear and go quick, then I'll be one step ahead of Andy.
Nice.
And that will make me, I think, the 5th fastest Brit.
There you go. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. But, you know, we're in the companies of the Campbells, the Seagraves, the Cobbs. I think actually, is it Donald, the 2 Campbells, Seagrave, Cobb, Andy Green.
Andy Green, yeah.
And then, and currently it's me anyway at number 6.
Number 6.
So if I, you know, that's in land speed racing, everybody, not drag racing.
Yeah.
Because I know people have been 300 in drag racing.
Yeah, no, easily, yeah.
We're talking land speed records.
This is land speeds, yeah, unbelievable, yes. Yeah, incredible. This has been amazing. We will be catching up with you, obviously when you come back from Bonneville, and then obviously we'll be doing other interviews with some of your colleagues as well. So that's really, really nice.
Pleasure.
And yeah, so thank you
everybody.
very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Geoff Stilwell. Many thanks to Redline Oils, of course.
Yes.
Of course, and Tide as well, for looking after us and making it so much easier.
Yeah, can I just mention, everybody, do check, because Redline Oil, do watch these videos, these podcasts, because I make sure that the powers that be get them, and I know they watch them. So
thank you very much indeed.
Do your best.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, thank you. Geoff, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.